When it comes to countries that manufacture fragrances, the most famous fragrance brands out there, Armani, Bulgari, Chanel, Dior, for example. Two countries that pop into most people's minds right away are Italy and France, especially because of those brands that I've just mentioned and many more. Unfortunately, Spanish perfumery tends to get shoved under the carpet in favor of French and Italian perfumery. I'm here to introduce you to Loewe, and particularly Loewe 7 Cobalt, this fragrance here. This one reminds me a lot of Bleu de Chanel, especially the EDP version, but this one here edges that one out, and I'm going to explain why in this video. If that sounds interesting to you, join me tonight as I delve into some alta perfumeria española. Hey guys, welcome back to Real Scent Review. Thanks for tuning in tonight. I'm going to be going over this one, Loewe 7 Cobalt from the house of Loewe. This one here is an alternative to Bleu de Chanel, especially the Eau de Parfum version, and it's a very good alternative. So if you're into blue fragrances, this video is going to interest you. Starting off here with the name, Loewe 7 Cobalt. It's a flanker of Loewe 7 or Loewe 7. The reason it is called 7 is because each fragrance in the line contains 7 notes. So, starting off with the presentation here, there's a design on the front. It looks like a certain type of plant, maybe some type of fern, I'm not quite sure. And in the back here, I have this information. On the bottom, we have the barcode and the usual stuff. This particular box here opens up, it's a book style box. Now this is the 50 milliliter bottle. I'm not sure if the 100 milliliter bottles have the same box or not. And here we have the bottle, very stylish looking bottle. It has a metallic blue finish or a cobalt blue finish to it. It's solid glass. We have the information on the bottom. The cap has the Loewe symbol on top, and the cap itself is made of wood. Very nice bottle here. Loewe makes some amazingly sleek and stylish bottles. I just love them. I'm not sure if you can see that color very well in the video here, but it's astonishing, just this amazing cobalt blue color. I'm gonna go ahead and waste a spray now. Great distribution in the atomizer here, great quality, pressurized. Being blasted with that fresh out of the shower blue type of smell here, of course. But does it ever smell amazing? So officially, the notes we're given are the following. In the top, we get sage, blackcurrant. In the mid, we get incense, vetiver, and pink pepper. And in the dry down, we're given clove and tonka bean. So that's the official note breakdown. I don't necessarily agree with all of it, but what I do detect is the following. In the top, I get blackcurrant, ambroxan, and pink pepper. In the mid, I get sage, some more ambroxan, and some more blackcurrant. And the dry down for me is filled with incense, cedar, sage, and yet more ambroxan. So, if you haven't already noticed, this is absolutely an ambroxan heavy fragrance, but if you're a fan of Bleu de Chanel, I'm assuming you're a fan of ambroxan as well. So in the opening here, we're hit with blackcurrant. So blackcurrant is a type of berry. It has a tart, ever so slightly sweet and juicy tone to it. So that in the top mixed with the ambroxan gives it a very tart, very blue type of feeling to it with just a touch of fruitiness, and the pink pepper adds some spice on top of that, a little bit of spice with some ever so slightly floral nuances to it as well. Pink pepper being slightly more floral than black pepper, for example. All in all, amazing opening here. Reminds me a lot of Bleu de Chanel, but Bleu de Chanel uses some more effervescent citruses in the top, like grapefruit and bergamot, which this one lacks. So the mid here for me is sage, ambroxan, and more blackcurrant. But the sage here makes itself really apparent. So sage is a herbal note with some slight musky, ever so slightly woody undertones to it. If you've ever smelled YEDP by Yves Saint Laurent, you'll know exactly what sage smells like. And in the mid part here, it does also remind me a little bit of that sage note that's in YSL YEDP. And the dry down for me is incense, cedar, ambroxan, and more blackcurrant. So the incense becomes very prominent here in the dry down. It's not an overly smoky fragrance, but the incense definitely is very apparent, and more so than in Bleu de Chanel, for example. And the cedar, ambroxan, and sage give it kind of a musky, slightly sea breezy dry down as well. All in all, very nice dry down. So as you can tell by my note breakdown here, there are absolutely some similarities to Bleu de Chanel, especially the Eau de Parfum version. I find that to be more musky than the Eau de Toilette and the Parfum. And this one here does have a little bit of that musk. All in all, it's very similar to Bleu de Chanel. However, the incense and the sage in this one are turned way up to the point where it definitely differentiates itself. And the addition of the black currant gives it a tart, slightly fruitiness, which is kind of reminiscent to me of Versace's Dylan Bleu. So in a way, this Loewe 7 Cobalt takes aspects of three very popular blue fragrances, Bleu de Chanel, Versace Dylan Bleu, and YSL YEDP, and kind of just combines certain notes. In my opinion, it takes all the best notes of those fragrances and amplifies them, and then we're left with this amazing fragrance here. But out of all of those comparisons, the one that really stands out, the one that is most similar to this, is definitely Bleu de Chanel in my opinion. Now, a little bit about the house of Loewe. Loewe is a Spanish company. It's a very old Spanish company. They're mostly known for their handbags and fashion accessories and clothing. They've only gotten into the perfume industry in the past 50 years or so. The company itself is extremely old. In fact, out of LVMH, which is the conglomerate that owns Christian Dior, Givenchy, Bulgari, for example, Loewe is actually a part of that as well, and Loewe is the oldest company in that conglomerate. So this company here is older than Givenchy, and it's older than Dior, believe it or not. Now, I know in North America, where most of you guys are located, Loewe is not a very well-known brand, especially for perfumery. For example, in the United States, Loewe only has 4 retail locations. However, in Europe, it's a fairly well-known brand for its perfumes and its handbags and other fashion accessories. And estoy seguro también de que vosotros en Latinoamérica conoceréis muy bien la marca. So, in the United States, Canada especially, this might not be very well known, and I think that's very unfortunate because the brand has some amazing, amazing perfumes. There's this one I've already reviewed, 7 Anonimo, or Anonymous 7, from the same line here. I'll link that video down below in case you want to watch that. But all in all, this is just a totally underrated brand. It's a very large brand as well. I mean, it's very well known outside of North America, really, and it doesn't get enough attention. You know, back in 1905, King Alfonso XIII of Spain actually gave the brand Loewe a royal warrant of appointment, which is essentially a distinction that the king gives out to suppliers of goods and services that he likes the most. So Loewe provided leather products and fashion accessories to the king and queen of Spain back then, and they liked the brand so much that they gave the company the right to advertise that they were a supplier to the royal family. So the brand has royal connections. Now look, I get it. Before any of you history buffs get mad at me, I understand that Alfonso XIII maybe wasn't the greatest guy ever. Now, that's all I'm gonna say about that here on YouTube. For those of you who don't know what I'm referring to, you can look that up, research in your own time. I don't want to get into any political discussions here on YouTube. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that this brand is recognized and endorsed by some pretty historically powerful people. So I think that's pretty interesting. Anyway, enough with the history lessons. Moving on here. Versatility, it's going to be just as versatile as any of those blue fragrances out there. Spring, summer, fall, even some winter days maybe that are particularly sunny. This one here, yes, it's a blue fresh fragrance, but like I said, the sage and the cedar and the incense are definitely turned up to where this becomes a very deep blue fragrance, more so than any other, at least well-known one on the market right now. I think this is absolutely fantastic. And if you're a blue fragrance fan, you just gotta go pick this one up. Moving on to the performance now, one of my favorite parts. The performance on this is actually very good. Total longevity, I get about 8 hours on my skin. Projection is about an elbow's length for the first 2 hours. So it's not a crazy projector, but at the same time, the longevity projection, much better than Bleu de Chanel Eau de Parfum. It's not quite on the level of, say, Versace Dylan Bleu, but this will definitely get the job done. It'll get you noticed. It'll last you through an entire day of work. Yeah, performance on this one, absolutely nothing to complain about. On the contrary, I actually think it's pretty good. Now, I'm saying this as a die-hard fan of Bleu de Chanel. I think this is a better version of Bleu de Chanel. To me, this takes all the notes in Bleu de Chanel that I like the most and just amplifies them. It kind of takes Bleu de Chanel and just makes it into a better fragrance, including better performance. The quality It's the same as any Chanel out there. Very good quality, high quality fragrance. In fact, Loewe is known for the natural smell, the natural feelings of all their perfumes. Very good company. You should look into them more if you're a fan of perfumery. So yeah, all in all, I think this is just one of the best blue fragrances out there. Probably not very well known in North America, but like I said, if you're into blues, if you're into freshies, you definitely want to check this one out, because 100 milliliter bottle, even though this is 50 milliliter, but the 100 milliliter bottle can be had for $84 US on FragranceNet. That's if you use the coupon. And that is far cheaper than Bleu de Chanel. And also there's the fact that you can never usually find Bleu de Chanel on discounters. However, that's not the case with Loewe products. You can find these on certain discounters. And for $84 for 100 milliliters of this, much better buy than Bleu de Chanel. Got better performance. In my opinion, it smells better as well. So guys, once again, I'll say it, if you're into blues, this is one you don't want to pass up. It's an amazing fragrance. And I'm always gonna have a bottle of this one laying around, ready for those warm summer days. Anyway guys, that's been my review of Loewe 7 Cobalt. Hope you've enjoyed it. Until next time, keep it real.